Now that we have completed row 9, we'll move on to row 10. First stitch is a beginning triple cluster. Chain 5, do a single stitch inside the chain 9 space. Next stitch is a picot. Chain 6, insert into the first stitch made, and do a slip stitch. That is your picot. Chain 5, do a triple cluster in the next triple cluster. Next stitch is another picot. Chain 6, working in the first stitch made, slip stitch. Next stitch is a triple cluster in the next triple cluster, skipping the triple stitch. And then you'll repeat that around, chaining 5, a single stitch in the 9 space, chain 6, working in that first stitch, slip stitch, chain 5, do a triple in the next triple cluster stitch. Do a picot, and then another triple in the next triple cluster, and then repeat. Repeat those stitches around. You should wind up with 24 clusters after you complete row 10. Now that we have completed row 10, we will start on row 11. Row 11, Same as usual, beginning triple cluster. Chain 5. Now you will do 6 triples inside the picot. Six of them. Chain 5. And in the next picot, do a triple shell. And if you remember, your triple shell is a triple cluster, chain 3, triple cluster. All that in this picot. Next, chain 5. And do 6 triples in the next picot. And then you repeat 6 triples in this picot. Next picot, you do your triple cluster shell. You complete that all the way around to the end. You should have a total of 11 shells, which consist of the two clusters, which would be your ends, 12 of your 6 triple groups. Now that we're at the end of row 11, your last was you chain 5, and then your last stitch you will need to do a triple cluster in the ending stitch to complete the row. That completes row 11. Now that we have finished row 11, we'll be working on row 12. Row 12 is the beginning row where we start working in the pineapple. Do a beginning triple stitch in the first stitch. Chain 5. And now we'll be working in where we did the 6 triple stitches. Do a single stitch in the first triple stitch. Chain 6. Do a single in the next treble stitch, chain 6, and then a single stitch in the next treble stitch. You'll do that in each one of the 6 treble stitches. And that is what it will look like. Chain 5, and work a triple cluster shell in the chain 3 space of the triple cluster shell. Chain 5, do a single stitch in the next triple stitch, chain 6, and then single stitch in the next triple, and you just repeat that again, and then repeat, and just repeat around. Chain 6, insert into the next treble. You do that 6 times. There'll be 6 of them, I think 6 or 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. There'll be 5. So you'll do that 5 times. Chain 5, and then do a triple shell in the next chain 3 space, and just repeat that around to the end. And when you get to the end, you will just do a triple cluster in the last stitch, which is a triple cluster. When you completed the row 12, you should have 11 shells, which is 2 triple clusters and a chain 3 space. You should have 2 clusters, triple clusters, which is the 2 stitches on the end, and you should have a total of 12 of the pineapple beginnings. And this would be 1 unit. So you should have 12 of these. Now that we finished row 12, we're starting on row 13. Do a beginning triple cluster. In the first stitch. Chain 6. do a single crochet stitch in the next chain 6 space, chain 6, and work a single crochet stitch in the next chain 6 space. Repeat that 5 times. And that is what you should have. Now you do another triple cluster shell in the chain 3 space of the triple cluster shell. Sometimes my fingers don't want to work. Chain 6. Then you're back to working a single crochet in the chain 6 spaces. Chain 6, and you just repeat that around. Chain 6 into the chain 6 spaces. Do a triple cluster shell in the triple cluster shell to the end. Sorry about that, that's my little dog. Sophie, hush. Sophie. And then when you get to the end, you're doing another triple cluster in the end, triple cluster stitch. And you just repeat those stitches around. Now you have completed row 13, row 14, beginning triple cluster in the beginning stitch. Chain 6. Skip the first chain 6 space, working in the next. Of the pineapple shape, do a single stitch, chain 6, single stitch in the next space, chain 6, single stitch in the next space, chain 6, and single stitch in the next chain space. Chain 6, do a triple cluster shell in the next triple cluster shell space. Chain 6, and a single stitch in the second chain 6 space of the pineapple. Chain 6, and single stitch in the next chain space, and you repeat that around to the end until you get to the last stitch, and you do a triple cluster. So you're starting out with triple cluster, beginning triple cluster, chain 6, skipping the first chain 6 space, working in the second one, single stitch, chain 6 in each space, chain 6, skipping the chain 6 space, and then doing a triple cluster shell in the triple cluster shell, and just keep repeating that around to the end, finishing off with a triple cluster.